Welcome everyone to the first part of our series on the Enhanced MYP Beta. Today we're focusing on one of the most significant shifts in the updated framework, concepts and teaching for conceptual understanding. This is more than just a change in terminology. It's a philosophical shift in how we plan, teach, and reflect in the MYP. The goal of this session is to equip you with clarity, strategies, and the confidence to navigate and apply these changes meaningfully in your practice. The last comprehensive update to the MYP was in 2014 with the next chapter. Since then, through ongoing dialogue with educators and schools, the IB identified several persistent challenges, particularly around the complexity and rigidity of unit planning. This new beta phase responds to that feedback. It's about making the MYP more flexible for schools, easier for teachers to implement, and ultimately more impactful for students' learning. The enhancements are not superficial. They reflect a deeply considered redesign that aims to empower educators as curriculum designers, not just users of a framework. One of the clearest shifts is moving away from treating the unit planner as a static document. In the enhanced MYP, the focus is on unit planning as a process. This means viewing the planner as a living tool, something we revisit, refine, and adapt as we respond to student learning. Rather than ticking boxes, we're engaging in an ongoing design conversation. This mindset encourages reflective teaching and opens space for real-time adjustments during a unit. Let's start with the foundation. What is a concept? In the IB, concepts are big abstract ideas that help students make meaning across subjects. Think of ideas like identity, power, change, or systems. Concepts provide lenses for understanding, not just what students learn, but how they organize and connect that knowledge. They're broad enough to stretch across disciplines, but specific enough to give structure and focus to your unit. In the previous model, key concepts were used to promote breadth, while related concepts were intended to support depth. Although this distinction had its benefits, it often led to confusion and limited flexibility. The enhanced MYP simplifies this by introducing a single, unified list of specified concepts for each subject. Now, instead of mixing and matching between required categories, schools choose from a thoughtfully curated set and can also add their own concepts that reflect local values or learner needs. This approach gives us flexibility while preserving coherence. So why was this shift necessary? Feedback showed that teachers found constructing statements of inquiry, especially combining key concepts, related concepts, and global contexts, confusing and forced. The IB has responded by reducing that pressure and focusing on what truly matters, developing deep conceptual understanding. With more flexible structures, we can prioritize meaningful learning rather than mere compliance. Each subject now has its own set of specified concepts. For example, aesthetics, expression, and innovation in the arts, or adaptation and collaboration in design. Importantly, schools are not required to cover all concepts, nor are they limited to this list. You can add locally relevant concepts like sustainability or equity, and even use shared concepts across subjects to create a more integrated curriculum experience. Now, let's clarify what we mean by conceptual understanding. This is more than just knowing definitions. It's the ability to connect facts, procedures, and reflections into a meaningful network of understanding. It's about students making sense of ideas, seeing patterns, revisiting and rethinking their assumptions, and applying their learning across different contexts. This is what gives learning depth and transferability. To support conceptual learning, we need strategies that move students from surface knowledge to deeper thinking. The IB highlights 6 pedagogical strategies. For example, classification helps students sort ideas into categories and clarify misunderstandings. It's especially useful when students are dealing with complex or abstract information, as it encourages them to group and distinguish concepts logically. Representation involves using different forms, like diagrams, models, or analogies, to express an idea. This strategy helps students see how the same concept can be understood from multiple angles and applied in different scenarios, which deepens their comprehension and memory. Generalization enables students to move from specific examples to broader principles. By identifying patterns across different contexts, students begin to see the underlying ideas that unify various topics, leading to transferable learning. Concepts in use involves deliberately linking multiple concepts within a model or framework. Students explore how concepts interact and apply these relationships in real situations. This strategy is particularly effective for building connections across units or subjects. Internalization supports the process of turning repeated practice into deep personal understanding. It encourages students to reflect on their learning experiences, rethink their approaches, and apply their skills in meaningful ways, transforming surface knowledge into intuitive grasp. And finally, near and far transfer helps students apply concepts not just in familiar contexts, near transfer, but in completely new and different situations, far transfer. This is at the heart of conceptual learning, helping students take what they've learned and use it creatively and effectively in new environments. These strategies are not rigid steps or a checklist. Instead, they are flexible tools that educators can draw on to meet their learners' needs, to make abstract concepts accessible, and to design learning that fosters true conceptual understanding. In the classroom, how do we bring this to life? One great strategy is concept mapping. Students visually connect ideas, refine those connections over time, and reflect on relationships between concepts. Another is encouraging student-generated questions. When students create their own inquiries, especially conceptual ones, they take ownership of the learning process and begin to think like investigators, not just receivers of information. One of the most teacher-friendly updates is the shift away from the required statement of inquiry format. You no longer need to force both a concept and a global context into one sentence. Instead, you can frame your unit using either an inquiry question or an inquiry statement, whichever fits your goals and your students better. This adds a more profound sense of authenticity, similar to how the PYP encourages exploration of a central idea, or how TOK invites students to engage with a debatable question. To meet IB expectations during the beta trial, schools need to do 3 things. First, identify the concepts being explored. Second, create an inquiry question or statement. Third, document how conceptual learning will happen through classroom tasks, discussions, and strategies. What matters most is not the form, but the function. Does the unit clearly support students in developing conceptual understanding? As you move forward, I encourage you to reflect on your own planning. Are you designing units that revolve around big ideas and authentic questions, or just completing forms? Are your students truly engaging with concepts? This beta phase is our opportunity to rethink how we plan, teach, and assess. It's about freeing ourselves to focus on what matters, helping students understand not just what to learn, but why it matters, and how it connects to the world around them. To wrap up, I'd like to highlight that this presentation is part of a broader effort to support educators in implementing the enhanced MYP Beta. Alongside this video, you'll find a comprehensive written guide that unpacks all the key ideas we've discussed definitions, changes, strategies, and classroom examples. This guide is designed to help you reflect, plan collaboratively, and apply these enhancements in a way that fits your context. I encourage you to explore it as a practical reference as you move forward in this journey toward deeper, more meaningful learning through concepts.